What's up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and I am back with another video. This time I want to talk about issues I have with various fandom. You know, the types of people who like some certain things. As you know, I am a fan of a lot of things, and by fan, I mean I enjoy watching and I enjoy talking about some of this stuff, but I don't take it so far almost like religion. You know what I'm saying? I don't get to the point where I'm like, you need to die because you don't know that Batman is Bruce Wayne, or you need to die because Power Rangers are the greatest thing ever. You know what I'm saying? Like, no. And there's so many people that take it so far to the point where it's just like, it kills the fun in being a fan of this thing also. Case in point, for a long time, Batman was, you know, growing up until I was like an adult, Batman has been my favorite superhero. But then at some point in the 2000s or something, he just became like this, like, they got tired of Chuck Norris jokes, so Batman became the guy. It's like after the goddamn Batman, and he just was the greatest thing since sliced bread. And it's like there's this whole generation of fans that take Batman to this level that almost makes him stupid. It's contradictory because they say they can't stand Superman because he's so powerful that it's boring to watch him deal with threats because nothing can hurt him. But then Batman gets the exact same treatment, only they don't tell you on paper that he's invincible and that he can fly and he can do all this stuff, but everyone's okay with Batman's invincibility due to being prepared. And you have fans that will fight you and attack you for saying anything to the contrary of him being the best thing ever created since fucking air. You know what I mean? And it's annoying. I mean, and they fight you tooth and claw, and it's like, you're not allowed to have a different opinion. You just have to have their opinion. And this is kind of par for the course on the internet in general, in most circles, when it comes to, you know, anybody's favorite whatever. It's rarely, you know, a logical thing where it's like, you know, Wolverine can heal, so if Wolverine fights the Punisher, in the end, the Punisher is going to die. You know what I mean? It's usually, or I'm sorry, I won't even use Wolverine, because Wolverine, I forgot, that's a whole nother fandom with fans that are so fanatical that just believe Wolverine would win every fight. You couldn't just knock him out. You couldn't choke him for a little while because he'll win because he has a healing factor, so that just offsets everything. But it's like saying Snake Eyes fighting the Punisher, that the Punisher doesn't know martial arts when he clearly does. You know, he's a soldier too, a very gifted soldier, mind you, and he fights things that Snake Eyes never fights. He's fought people that Snake Eyes would never fight, superpowered people that Snake Eyes would know what to do with. And people would still say Snake Eyes would win because they like Snake Eyes better, or they know more about Snake Eyes. And if you don't believe them, or if you don't agree with them, then it's you should die. You're an idiot. You're this, you're that, whatever. Transformers fans, so picky. These colors don't match. I don't like this foot piece on the character. You didn't create any of these guys, so accept what's there. But they'll say all that shit and then turn around and buy every figure of all these characters, but still nitpick the hands and the feet and the chest piece and this color and that color. And it's like, why can't you just appreciate it? Why do you have to nitpick the shit to death? You know, it's not like they nitpick in hopes of getting better shit and then don't buy the shit you nitpick. No, they nitpick everything, no matter how much you paid for it, and they're directly the cause for why their thing does not get better. But try having this conversation with them. And I'm not going to say it's every single one of them, but this is the majority, you know, the vocal majority. Comic book fans these days, you know, a lot of them will read what they want to read, but then they'll pretend like they know everything about every comic ever fucking made, you know, especially from the big two. And it's frustrating, you know. You go on Comic Vine, and me and Agent O have talked about this a couple times. we still have that dumb argument about which one is better, Marvel or DC. You go on Comic Vine and you see these matchups where they take two characters that are very similar, one from Marvel, one from DC, and put them up against each other, and then everybody picks the one instance that might be out of canon or from 20 years ago or from 5 years ago that's no longer in canon, where the character did something ridiculously amazing that the writers came up with for that story and that you never saw again. And then they say, because the character could do this one thing in this one story, they did this one thing in this one story, in this one instance, where everything worked out, where this was the answer to the problem, that so-and-so on the whoever's side can't beat them. And then each side goes back and forth with all the inconsistencies that have been written about this character, and they say that's the reason why they can win. And it's like, does no one have any common sense? Does no one ever see that a lot of characters over the years, one constant in comics is inconsistency? You know, there's a lot of things where, you know, so-and-so writes this story, and then Grant Morrison comes along and then rewrites the whole history of the character, so what came right before his story no longer is valid. Or, you know, Miller writes a situation that is only specific to shit he would write, and a character acts a certain way due to that situation, and you never again see that reaction, that power, that instance in that character's history. And people just refuse to see that this is a thing. This is the way comics are done. Editorial is not doing what they're supposed to do. Therefore, you get all these lapses in the logic behind a lot of these characters, and they just do shit. You know? Hulk. People always take the Hulk. The Hulk is the biggest fucking MacGuffin in comics. The biggest one. And constantly they're like, Hulk is so strong because blah, 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 blah. Like, dude, do you just read and absorb and just buy everything that's told to you in any book just because you don't, like, try to make sense of the shit yourself? And I see it so much that it makes it not fun. Like, I used to complain about, I won't say I used to, but more so than now, I used to complain about Marvel Legends. Because I used to try to have conversations about them with people who collect and, you know, should be able to see the lapse in quality, you know, that we've been dealing with, especially lately. But some folks, I mean, I've watched this, and it made me so, like, ugh, that I was just like, forget it. I'm not going to really get involved with this community. G.I. Joe, same thing. There are people who buy anything that says G.I. Joe. It doesn't have to be quality, it just has to have the logo on it. And if you say anything to the contrary, they attack you. And it's like, what the fuck? Why do you have to attack me for noticing something that you didn't see and you refuse to acknowledge? That doesn't make me wrong. You're refusing to acknowledge a fact, you know? The plastic used now and the plastic used a couple years back, it's different. It's cheaper. It's lighter. It's rubbery. This is fact. This is not me just, you know, nitpicking or something like that. G.I. Joes are not the Hurt Locker or Black Hawk Down. They're G.I. Joes. This is a fact. You read the books and you see it. Even though they're parallels, they run around in Rolling Thunders and fucking, you know, Rhinos and shit. They don't just run around in Humvees and regular planes and blah, blah, blah. I mean, that shit exists in the Joe-verse, but Joes use G.I. Joe tech. You know what I mean? G.I. Joe gear, G.I. Joe whatever. They have special training. One Joe is like a fucking battalion of regular soldiers. Joes are supposed to be the shit. And the comics make that implicitly clear, yet there are so many people who don't get this. And if you happen to be the one person in that particular instance that does see this and wants to say something, you will be attacked for it. What the fuck is up with these fans? So, like, I noticed that a lot of things I can't have the conversation with people online a lot of times because they're a part of the fandom. They feel like because they like A, B, C, and D, they have to adhere to all the stereotypes that go along with that. They have to like all the things that everyone else in that group likes in order to be part of that fandom. And I don't fit in those boxes. So I have problems when the time comes to try and like meet people on that level and try to, you know, geek out with certain folks about these things. I mean, like you've watched, if you're listening to this, you've probably watched an Off Our Brain or two, and you know, like, my ninjas and I have distinct likes and dislikes and stances on the things that we do like and things that just exist out there, you know, like pop culture. Someone in one of the videos I did said that I profess to be this pop culture like know-it-all or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know what videos you've been watching, because I don't really like, I'm not that, I can't consume everything pop culture that's thrown at us. I can't watch Game of Thrones, Flash, Arrow, fucking True Detective, True Blood, fucking Better Call Saul, fucking Ray Donovan. Oh, I don't have the time. I don't have the fucking time. I got a wife. She's fine. I like to run after her a lot. I like to spend time with my wife. I have kids. I like to hang out with my kids. I've got artwork that I'm making, and I got these videos that I'm making. I don't have the time to neglect all those people. I got brothers and friends and sisters and all these people around me that I like to spend time with. I mean, I like to have my own time. I'm an artist. That's what we do. I like to be away from them for a little bit, but I do like to spend time with them. So I don't hide and just consume all this shit so that I can get online and sound like I achieved something because I hid from people and lived in fantasy land for like a extended period of time. I noticed, like, when I was in high school, I had this issue with people because I played video games and I talked to chicks. You know what I mean? I played Street Fighter all the time. That's what I did. Street Fighter, and then I picked up chicks that were in the mall because the arcade was in the mall. That was the reason why I went to the mall. I went to play video games and talk to chicks and try to get numbers, whatever. You know how it was back in the day. If you grew up in the 90s, you knew how it was. It was real simple. You went to wherever you could go, where all the people your age or around your age hung out, and you tried to, you know, get numbers, give numbers, whatever, but you also had your thing. There always had to be like a something to pull all the people, kind of get you all in the same place. Sometimes you were lucky because there'd be a lot of girls in the arcade playing other shit, not necessarily the games you're playing. You were really lucky if the chick played fighting games like you did. It wasn't like today, where if a girl plays video games, all the dudes, I won't say all of them, but the immature dudes are going to attack her online and treat her like shit, as opposed to treasuring the fact that you just came across a chick. And don't let it be a fine chick, but you came across a chick that plays video games just like you, who's into that shit. So you guys could actually vibe together on this one level. You may not like the same exact games, but there's something you both could do. You know what I'm saying? Instead, you guys, the new fandom, the new fanatics, girls can't play games, yet they make up more than half of the video game purchasing public. You know, they're the demographic. They're half of the highest demographic of people who buy and play video games. And you want to treat them like second-class citizens. I don't understand this fandom. This is what I'm saying when I say I have issues with fandom. Movies. So many people do not understand how movies are made. And then I watch reviews on films, and I want to go in the comments and say something, and I see how many people don't get it. Then I try to put my little piece of information, like the amount of people who want to blame the director for problems with the script. The director, I mean, in the end, a lot of times producers, if the director is a producer, he can change the script completely, and he will, But if he's not, and he's just the director, he's going to follow what's on the script because the producer said that's what's going to be on the script. Now, if it doesn't work, he will make the proper changes so that it will work. But typically, rewrites and all that shit are not the director's thing. There are, choice directors that do this, but typically, the directors direct. That's what their job is, I don't know how many people have done videos where they point out all the stuff that's wrong with Transformers and blame Michael Bay specifically. They don't blame Kurtzman and Orsi and what the third guy, I forgot his name. But they blame Michael Bay. He doesn't write any of the scripts. He's the definition of what I'm talking about. I think the scripts he had something to do with writing were like Pain and Gain and Bad Boys. But Transformers, that was all Kurtzman and Orsi and the third guy. I don't know why I forgot his name, but you know, you saw what we got. Try telling people that he didn't get the final say in what was going to go up on screen. He got the final say in how it was going to show up on screen. Try to explain that to some people. They'll argue with you all day long, and all they have to do is go on IMDb, look up cast and crew, and you see who wrote the movie. I just don't get it. We have this beautiful creation. It's one of the greatest creations of our time. It's called the internet. Limitless information at your fingertips. And so many individuals just choose not to use it. They want to stay ignorant and they want to fight. What the fuck? And these are the fans that say they know shit. Like, we're on the subject of movies. The X-Men films. How many people have we argued with? How many people have we tried to explain, you know, those movies are not good. They don't represent the X-Men very well. And people will argue with you. Yes, they do. But how much do you know about the X-Men? Like, you know, how many films have you watched? I mean, how many how many comics have you read? You know, how many episodes of the cartoon did you watch? Because the cartoon did a good job of giving you a watered-down version of the comics or a condensed version of the comics every single Saturday during, you know, the 90s when it was on. And there's a lot of people who, they didn't watch that. They didn't read the comics, but they're fans of the films. And they want to pretend like they're comic book fans. And then when you tell them that the comics are completely different from what's going on in these films, they look at you sideways like what you said just doesn't make any sense. I have problems with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like if you're a fan, you kind of owe it to yourself to understanding what the source material is. You need to understand that when a lot of these comic book films come out, especially if it's not being done by Marvel, the studios take liberties because they're ashamed of the source material. Arrow. I argue with people. I used to argue all the time with people about Arrow. I was like, you know, Arrow's stupid. There's another character named the Arrow, and he's a very old character from like the same time period as the original Blue Beetle, before DC owned him. And people argue with me. No, it's the guy on TV. Like, yeah, he's also called Arrow, but I think it's stupid that they took the name from an older character, and also that they dropped the green prefix of Green Arrow. Yet they have him have green arrows and a green costume and a green bow and green everything. Like, why do that? When I tell them about all the bullshit that they did where they stole Batman plots and then put Green Arrow in the middle of it, they all argue with me. And I'm like, oh, so you've never watched Batman the Animated Series or read a Batman comic book, yet you're a fan of all this stuff. You know what I mean? What is with that? And I'm not doing this to just gatekeep. It's because I go into it wanting to have a conversation with people who seem to be knowledgeable about this particular thing because they appear to be fans. So there are a lot of things because of this that I am a fan and I am outside of the fandom, if that makes any sense. I stay away from the fans of certain things because I can't relate to them because they don't truly get what it is that they are engaged in the fandom of. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of tokusatsu fans they latch onto something and then they want to attack everyone who does not latch on to that thing. And it frustrates me because it's goofy. It's like, in many cases, it's like superhero comedy. And down to the names of the special moves that they do and the weapons that they have and the looks of some of these characters. It's not all serious like the DC universe, you know, this DC cinematic universe. It's kind of goofy. It's really goofy. And there are people who will attack you and be like, this is the you know, it's the greatest ever. He destroys so-and-so. And I'm like, dude, keep it in perspective. No Toku hero is going to come out of the Toku, you know, universes that they belong to and beat the shit out of Superman. Like, that's just not going to happen. I don't care what he did in his show. Because whatever he did in his show is like nothing in comparison to the shit that Superman and, you know, characters like him go through in their universe. I mean, there's absurdity, but Toku takes that shit to another level. And being a fan of it, you should be aware of this. And, like, keep your, you know, your I don't know, your debates, keep them in perspective. You know, at least, you know, compare other Toku heroes to other Toku heroes if that's what you want to do. But don't get all crazy and start, like, comparing actual dramatic, like, superhero action drama to tokusatsu, which is a lot of comedy. Even though they have dramatic moments, it's a lot of comedy, you know? It's just frustrating. And it's something I just wanted to throw out there because I know I'm not alone in this. Where you like something, but you can't really vibe with the majority of the people who also like that thing because they take it too far, you know? Like, I'm a character designer, which means before you finish the character design, costume design is important. I don't make the costumes in 3 dimensions, but when I'm designing the character, I want the costume to work. So I design thinking about it, how it would work in real life to some degree. There's a lot of cosplayers that do this shit that I can't stand talking to. Because they act like it's not this fun thing. They take the fun out of it, and they're so serious about it, and so, like, you know, like I should be worshiping the fact that you make costumes and you walk around in them at conventions and shit. And it's like, dude, you had fun making a costume, or girl, you had fun making this costume because you enjoy it and you're passionate about doing it. When I'm showing you, like, you know, designs that I've done, and I'm trying to, you know, get on the same page with you about the process, you know, you can meet me somewhere because most people draw some portion of that design first before they start putting materials into it. So, you know, it's not completely crazy for an artist to want to vibe with a cosplayer because some of the work is similar, you know? But you get these weird, you know, it's like this elitist attitude that, you know, I do this thing, and because I do this thing and you don't, and you don't do the exact same thing, you can't talk. And it's just like, ugh, come on. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Or because people pay to take pictures with you because your costumes are nice. Or because, you know, you happen to be a chick that always chooses scantily clad anime characters to cosplay as. You don't want to talk to people. How do I put this? You think every guy that's talking to you about the design process or talking to you about anything is trying to get with you. And it's like, you're not all that dope. All of you are not that dope. There's some that are really dope, but it's not all of you. You know, like, no. So, I don't know. It's just one of these things, man. I see this so much. I mean, me and Agent O did that one video a while back about the problem with fans. It was like 3 parts. And with fans today. And, you know, we've brought it up in some Off Our Brains where it's like the fans are like fly by night. You know, they say they love this thing, but they don't really love it. They just like being included. You know, they want to belong to something. So they do a little research so that they can hold their own in the same cyclical conversation that happens over and over in these circles. But anything more or less, when you challenge them, they buckle. And it's frustrating because I want to be able to meet folks that we can actually, you know, talk without the snarkiness and without the, you know, the elitism, and just vibe about these things that we like, you know? I dig Kamen Rider, but how many people have I met that I don't understand what it is they're trying to get at when we start talking about Kamen Rider? It's like they just want to, they like the one Kamen Rider they like and they can't get outside of it. Or there's this, you know, I only like the Heisei era guys, or I only like the Showa era guys, and you just don't want to bend from that. You know, and it's like, all this shit exists and you want to limit your scope to this one thing? Anime people, otakus. I can't watch anime from the 90s. What the fuck is wrong with you? Some of the best anime shit that ever came out was in the late 80s and throughout the 90s. You know what I mean? And they refuse because, oh, I don't like that style. Or it's old. That's it? It's just old, so it can't be good? Think about all the Studio Ghibli shit that just looks timeless that you're missing out on because it came out in the 90s. So, like, I'm just saying, it's like personally, I have a wide variety of things that I like, but I refuse to be part of the fandom because people take it too far, you know? I like anime, but I refuse to call, an anime character my waifu, because when I go to bed, I sleep next to my waifu. She's a real person. You know what I'm saying? I don't have that issue, and I don't have that disconnect with reality where that's something I do. And I know sometimes you can joke about that stuff, but I just, personally, I don't get into that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's where I differ from some. Maybe it's a younger dude's thing. Maybe it's... And I can't even say that, because I know some otakus that are older than me, and they have waifus and blah, blah, blah in every genre, and posters and body pillows and all that shit. So, it's not necessarily... I don't think it's an age thing. It's just your mindset. So, I have a problem with the most of the fandom out there, with a lot of things. I just can't. I'm not as extreme when it comes to my enjoyment of these things. And I just like it for what it is. What each thing is individually. I like them for those things. I like Kamen Rider for the aesthetic that it started with. I don't like the new aesthetic where it's all super outlandish to the point of, like, it doesn't even register as a Kamen Rider anymore. I like the old stuff because you had the innocent man turned into a killing machine that eventually fights his reprogrammers, if that's the way of, he fights his captors, the people who turned him into a killing machine, and protects humanity. I dig that. But that plot has been lost over the years, and a lot of people don't get it because they never saw the original stuff. So, I like things for their individual, merits. I don't like them because all these people say that this is the reason why you should like it. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. Maybe you guys will feel me. Maybe you won't. Maybe this was just a crazy man's rambling. I don't know. I think there has to be other people who feel this way. Kung Fu movies. There's a lot of people who don't know the difference between, Japanese films, Korean films, and Chinese films. You know what I mean? And they don't know the difference between, like, good martial arts movies and the modern whack shit. You know what I mean? Where it's some pop star that they taught a handful of moves, and he learned those moves, but he's not a fighter. So there's, like, a lack of polish in his movements that make the fight look fake. They don't get this. So they don't... When you say this movie was whack because this guy can't fight, they look at you sideways like, wait, what? I like that movie. It can't possibly be bad because I like it. It's like, dude, let me explain to you why I think it's bad. But that's where it stops. I'm not that guy. Honestly, I'm the guy who, if other people would come to me with those kind of explanations for things, we'd have long conversations. Honestly, we'd geek out for hours. I geeked out the other day with ODC That's Me, and it was cool because there were things we both liked about SDCC this year, and the figures that were, revealed. And then there's things that we didn't agree on. Like, I didn't agree on the werewolf cap. I thought that was stupid. I'm like, of all the things and the characters you could make, that's what you wanted to make? ODC was all about it. I mean, he admitted that the story was stupid, and he had the comic, but he said, he liked that thing. And I'm not going to knock him for it. I just said I think it's a dumb idea. So he'll buy it. If I buy that cap, because I want a classic cap with newer articulation and stuff, and a better sculpt, I'm throwing that head in the trash or something. You know what I mean? Like, I don't need a Captain America Howling Commando. That's stupid for me. So, and it was cool. We just we made it into a joke because, he was cool with it and I'm not. So, I like being able to do that. We don't all have to be 100% always on the same fucking page about everything, but we should at least be in the same book. You know what I mean? Like, we could at least be in the same realm of shit, and have our likes and our dislikes and vibe off of each other as we go through that, you know, and that's something I see that lacks in all of these fandoms, and it bothers me immensely. We're supposed to be able to enjoy what we see. We're consumers, and we should be enjoying what we consume instead of it becoming something, you know, what we consume becoming something that divides all of us, and we're still supposed to have that fandom in common. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people who they think that you have to see and watch everything, you have to play every game that's released, and if you don't, you don't really like whatever. You're not a real gamer. I hear that all the time. I'm like, you know, I don't really want to be considered a gamer. Gamers are responsible for some of the dumbest shit that I've seen in my life. And I'm good not being a real gamer, quote unquote, because I like what I like. I don't buy every new game. You know what I mean? I don't have the money to buy every new game because I got a mortgage and I got other shit, and I'm just a regular guy. I don't have a trust fund. I don't have, you know, like a shitload of money or fucking sugar mama or sugar daddy or something to pay for all my shit. You know what I mean? I don't live with my parents. I don't have anyone else to turn to get money from but myself. And I have other things I got to worry about. So, yeah. I don't spend money like that. So, you know, the game has to be really good. It has to be quality for me to spend my hard-earned money on it. And I don't come across that many people who share that, you know. I mean, in our little, you know, circle, I think there's a ton of us that's how we are. We spend what we have left over after we do what we're are responsible for. After we pay for the things we're responsible for, we spend some little bit that we have left over on shit that makes us happy. That makes sense. But you don't want to get nothing for what money you put in. You know, if you spend $50 on something, it needs to be worth the $50. You know, and it would be nice to be able to find other people more often who kind of feel they're in that realm. They feel similarly. Wow. They feel similarly about that, you know, instead of just, you know, take my money, here, take my money. You know, that whole mentality, it gets on my nerves. But anyway, hopefully overall you guys get where I'm coming from. If you do, get at me in the comments. Give me your side of this argument or this issue, if it is an issue for you. If you think this is an overreaction in some kind of way, get at me. Let me know why. You know, don't just get in the comments and try to blaze the shit out of me because you don't agree. Articulate why you don't agree, and give me examples of places where this isn't the case, so I can share that with you, and I can enjoy a community where that's not an issue, you know, outside of this community that we're building here. So anyway, I'm Strident. This has been my story, and I'm sticking to it. I will see you guys in the next video. Peace outside.